spokesperson, Comrade Matlengi, who's on compassion leave because of the passing away of mother. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media. The African National Congress convened its National Working Committee meeting yesterday, at a time when our movement and nation stand at critical juncture in the journey of renewal, unity and transformation. Guided by the historical resolution of the 55th National Conference and the enduring vision of the Freedom Charter, the NWC deliberated on pressing organizational, national and international matters with a singular focus to strengthen the ANC as a disciplined force of the left rooted among the people, and to ensure that the government of national unity led by the ANC delivers tangible change to the lives of South Africans. The meeting affirmed that the ANC remains the strategic center of power in advancing the national democratic revolution, deepening democracy and building a just, inclusive, and developmental state. We will convene a National Executive Committee meeting, which is a regular meeting of the National Executive Committee, from November 14 to 17, 2025, during Disability Rights Awareness Month. This meeting will assess the ongoing work to build unity, rebuild organizational structures, and strengthen the movement's capacity to lead society. The NEC will also assess the domestic and global balance of forces, reflecting on South Africa's strategic posture as we move towards the 5th National General Council. These discussions will be rooted in the ANC's strategic objective of constructing a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous society, as enshrined in the Freedom Charter and reaffirmed in successive National Conference resolutions. The ANC commends the recent engagement of political parties led by President Ramaphosa. This strategic retreat of the GNU Political Leaders Forum resulted in an agreement on medium-term development plan. This marks an important step in resetting and consolidating the government of national unity, ensuring that it continues to embody the spirit and letter of the statement of intent signed by all participating parties. The ANC reaffirms that the government of national unity must be a people-centered instrument for transformation, stability, and service delivery through consensus-based governance. We will strengthen cooperation and accelerate the implementation of key policy priorities, particularly those advancing economic inclusion, social justice, and national renewal. The National Working Committee noted the recent attempt by the Democratic Alliance to undermine the gains of our struggle, aimed at rolling back over 300 years of subjugation of our people. This demand by the Democratic Alliance is another indication of their plan when they witness the development and transformation of Black people, African, colored, and Indians. We will not relent until the legacy of colonialism and apartheid is erased in the economy, employment and social dynamic. We will capitulate, but the dignity of our people remains the center of our daily prosecution of our struggle. The Working Committee reflected on the broad macroeconomic environment within which the upcoming medium-term budget policy statement will be tabled. The National Working Committee noted that the importance of the MTBPS lies in reflecting on the state of the economy since the budget speech earlier in the year, enabling the government to determine whether its key assumptions about the direction of the economy and public finances remain valid. Accordingly, at a macro level, the National Working Committee observed that the economy has shown signs of resilience against global challenges and has even registered positive performance in our trade balance. In the view of the National Working Committee, all these positive macroeconomic indicators have arrived at the right time to help the government fulfill its spending commitments with the aid of improved tax collection. In this context, the National Working Committee is confident that the government will sustain priority spending on public infrastructure and employment-creating growth initiatives, as well as eliminate wasteful expenditure. The Working Committee believes that the MTBPS will sustain momentum on GNU priorities as outlined in the Statement of Intent and the ANC's 10 priority interventions for the economy announced after the ANC's National Executive Meeting in October this year, which aimed at, among others, to fast-track large-scale investment in the country's electricity transmission grid, strengthen capacity of the state to manage major projects, promote township and rural economies, and use development finance institutions to support the growth of SMMEs. Infrastructure spending on water, roads, rail, ports, and electricity is key to lifting the rate of growth and creating jobs. The National Working Committee reaffirmed the good work done to date in stabilizing the performance of our critical SOEs, which is a vital pillar of deepening economic growth and raising investment in job creation across the broader economy. Recent performance data for Eskom, PRASA, and Transnet have all demonstrated improvement in efficiencies and financial management. However, more work still needs to be done to get these entities back to full strength. The ANC welcomes the national dialogue as an important step towards deepening democratic participation and nation building. South Africans have demonstrated a clear readiness for meaningful engagement on the challenges confronting our nation. The ANC believes that such dialogue must strengthen social compacts across all sectors and reaffirm the constitutional values of equality, justice, and non-racialism. Our structures and members will participate actively, guided by the ANC's historic mission of unity and transformation. The NWC endorsed the reconfiguration of municipalities in the Free State Province as part of implementing the local government action plan. In the Free State Province, we have intervened in Lejweleputswa, Litsimeng, Mafube, Masilonyana, Mukhaka, Nala, and Nketwane. This is aligned with the ANC's commitment to strengthen local governance, improving service delivery, and ensuring accountability to municipalities. The ANC continues to prioritize ethical leadership, capacity building, and stability in local government as essential to advancing the district development model and fulfilling the constitutional mandate of developmental governance. In the next coming weeks, we will see changes in some of the municipalities that I've mentioned in the Free State, and we will hasten the process of the appointment of replacements, and we will reconfigure the Troika in certain municipalities in the Free State. We have done the same in the Northwest, in the main intervening in Ditsobotla and Taung, and agreeing that the mayor of Taung will be recalled by the African National Congress, and matter that is being implemented as we speak. The National General Council, the 5th National General Council, will be held from the 8th to 12th December 2025 in Gauteng, under the theme, the Year of Renewal, making the ANC a more effective instrument of the people to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter. The National General Council remains the second highest decision-making body of the ANC between national conferences and will focus on unity, renewal, and the transformation agenda. The delegate cut-off date for delegates in terms of membership was 30th September 2025, with participation limited to branches in good standing and within their constitutional terms of office. The NGC will comprise of 1,600 delegates, of which 1,115 will come from provincial delegates and branches. And a breakdown of this is now being communicated to the structures, and the branches will be, those who qualify to come, will be preparing to come to the National General Council. The draft program of the General Council is finalized, and the NGC documents have been distributed to all organs of the organization, including public representatives, to ensure a comprehensive and evidence-based assessment of progress. This was coupled with provincial and regional general councils that have been convened to engage with the NGC-based document, which was ensuring that the discussions, that base document guide the discussions of the organization for the National General Council. Additionally, the NGC-based document has been published for public engagement, encouraging open dialogue and the broadest participation from our movement and society. Logistical preparations are well underway. Our National General Council, in terms of the venue, will be held at Nasrec. The Working Committee announced earlier this month the reconfiguration of the Western Cape Provincial Executive Committee as mandated by the National Executive Committee. Subsequent to the announcement, Comrade Rasool requested to be recused from the PTT. Comrade Rasool got new important assignment in terms of global work that they could not resist. And when discussing with him, we felt that we needed to release him because The work that he will be focusing on now is going to demand a lot from him in terms of global and international traveling and intervention. And we're going to miss him in terms of the task of convening the provincial task team in the Western Cape. Comrade Jeremiah Teisma was appointed as the provincial convener of the Western Cape PTT, a task he duly accepted. Comrade Jeremiah is a long-standing activist and a member of the ANC, having grown and led in the Cape Youth Congress, South African Youth Congress, and the Youth League. He's a former SACP Provincial Executive Committee member and a trade unionist who is well-grounded in the struggles of the people in the Western Cape. Comrade Jeremiah served in the local council in the Cape Metro and was declared and honored with Alderman honor in the Western Cape. He hails from Mitchell's Plain in the Cape Metro. The ANC held a productive bilateral meeting with the Congress of South African Trade Unions, reaffirming our shared commitment to the National Democratic Revolution as a collective program of the Alliance. Discussions centered on safeguarding and revitalizing the Alliance, advancing decent work, worker rights, and social transformation. We agreed on the need to defend the working class and ensure that economic policy remains pro-poor, redistributive, and transformative in line with the ANC economic transformation policy framework. Engagements with the South African Communist Party are ongoing. We note the success of the SACP People's Red Caravan in October under the theme, the People's Movement for Self-Reliance and Sustainability. The ANC will hold a bilateral meeting with the SACP before the National General Council to strengthen ideological coherence and programmatic unity. We thought by now, as mandated by the National Executive Committee, we would have had a meeting, a bilateral meeting with the South African Communist Party before the National Executive Committee, but because of a rigorous program of the SACP, which required that they go and station full-time for the October month in the Eastern Cape, made it really impossible for us to meet. But nonetheless, we are both committed to this bilateral engagement. And to finalize, the most important discussion that you all know about of the SACP standing as an independent organ. It is important for us to have that discussion so that the General Council of the ANC can get a full report and as well as a way forward from the National Executive Committee on this particular important development within the Alliance. But most importantly, we need an Alliance meeting as well to reflect on this moment before the National General Council so that as the Alliance, we can have a common approach on this particular matter. But nonetheless, you will know what is the position of the ANC on the matter, that we are not in favor of the position of the party, standing it alone in terms of the upcoming elections. The National Working Committee has taken a decision that Comrade Senzo Mchunu's request for special leave from the activities of the National Executive Committee and the National Working Committee be granted. The ANC guidelines and procedures, implementation of the National Conference resolutions on credibility and integrity, dealing with corruption and on fighting crime and corruption were adopted by the National Executive Committee on the 13th to 14th of February 2021 and amended. The Special National Executive Committee meeting was amended at the Special National Executive Committee meeting on the 24th to 25th April 2022. Paragraph 3.1.1 provides that a member, I quote, office bearer or public representative who has been indicted to appear in court of law on a charge of corruption or other serious crimes must immediately step aside pending the finalization of her or his case. I want to read again. Paragraph 3.1 of the National Conference resolution on procedures on credibility and integrity, dealing with corruption and on fighting crime and corruption, which was adopted on the 13th to 14th of February 2021 and amended in the Special National Executive Committee from 24th to 25th April 2025. Paragraph 3.1.1 provides that, I quote, a member, office bearer, or public representative who has been indicted to appear in court of law on a charge of corruption or other serious crimes must immediately step aside pending the finalization of her or his case, close quote. Comrade Mchunu has not been indicted to appear in a court of law on a charge of corruption or other serious crimes. Accordingly, the specific provisions of paragraph 3.1.1 do not apply to him. However, this does not mean that he or any other member who is alleged to be involved in corrupt activities cannot voluntarily step aside or take special leave. We welcome Comrade Senzo Mchunu's emphasis that he understands, I quote, that the people are feeling the trauma of crime and corruption in the country, close quote. Now, you will know on this particular matter that I did explain to you the decision of the organization when the matter of special leave of Comrade Senzo arose in government, and that indeed the ANC position with regard to step aside is exactly what I've quoted in the document. Now, in the light of the Commission's work and what it requires on him, it is practically impossible not to agree to that particular request. That is what has guided the National Working Committee to then grant Comrade Senzo the request that he made, that he wished to step aside to be on special leave equally in terms of the party work and the work of the National Executive Committee, pending the processes that have been undertaken at the present moment, so that he's got no burden on himself or the ANC as we deal with these particular matters. South Africa will host the G20 summit under the theme Solidarity, Equality, Sustainability. This milestone reflects our growing role in shaping the global development agenda through the principles of Ubuntu, our belief in shared humanity and mutual respect amongst nations. The summit will prioritize the development agenda of the Global South, focusing on combating inequality, ensuring food security, advancing climate change, and promoting sustainable growth in Africa. The ANC notes with concern the decision by the President of the United States not to participate in the G20 or other critical platforms such as COP30. He has based his reason for non-attendance at the G20 summit on the misinformation campaigns alleging, quote-unquote, genocide in South Africa. These false claims, widely discredited by our government, civil society, and even sections of the Afrikaner community, form part of a deliberate disinformation drive aimed at sowing division and destabilization. The ANC reiterates its stance on non-alignment, multilateralism, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts, in keeping with the principles of the United Nations Charter and the Freedom Charter's call for peace and friendship among nations. The ANC congratulates the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, and the people of the Republic of Angola on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of their independence, celebrated on the 11th of November 2025. Angola's liberation stands as a beacon of African self-determination, solidarity, and the triumph of perseverance over colonial domination. The bonds between the ANC and the MPLA were forged in the crucible of struggle, with Angola providing a home to many South African freedom fighters during the darkest days of apartheid. As we celebrate this milestone, we reaffirm our commitment to strengthening Pan-African unity, South-to-South cooperation, and the pursuit of peace, stability, and development across the continent in the true spirit of African Renaissance and Ubuntu diplomacy. The ANC joins the nation and the world in celebrating the remarkable life of Dr. Esther Mahlangu, a global icon of African art and cultural heritage. On the occasion of her birthday, Dr. Mahlangu's work has not only elevated Ndebele visual traditions to international acclaim, but also affirmed the ANC's long belief in the power of culture as a weapon of liberation and social cohesion. Her artistry symbolizes the resilience, creativity, and dignity of African womanhood, embodying the spirit of the Freedom Charter's call that the doors of learning and culture shall be opened. The ANC salutes Dr. Mama Mahlangu for a lifelong contribution to the preservation and global recognition of South Africa's indigenous knowledge systems, and for inspiring generations to embrace their dignity with pride. The ANC expressed its deepest condolences on the passing of Comrade Muruti Maphathwe, a veteran of Umkhonto weSizwe, and our national and the chaplain of the ANC in Gauteng. Comrade Muruti Maphathwe dedicated his life to the liberation struggle and continued to minister to our movement with compassion, dignity, and unwavering faith. We call on all members to ensure that he is laid to rest with honor, befitting his service to the people and the movement. We also extend our heartfelt condolences to our national spokesperson, Comrade Mahlengi Pengu, on the passing of a beloved mother, uGogo Thelma Buisiwe Pengu. During this difficult time, the ANC stands in solidarity with Comrade Mahlengi and her family, praying for strength and comfort. The ANC continues to uphold the value of Ubuntu, reminding all members that in mourning we reaffirm our shared humanity and collective responsibility to support one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade SG. Colleagues will be taking a round of hands. We'll be starting this side. We'll just state your name and the institution you come from, and then we proceed. I will start with yourself, Mawan, and you'll be the last one. You can proceed.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Secretary General Mabula, for this presentation. My name is John Pesci of Financial Now. Are you able to comment perhaps on the tensions between SAMWU and the City of Johannesburg's municipal leadership in the run-up to the G20? There's been difficulty regarding compensation for municipal workers who SAMWU leadership that is, have said are bearing the brunt of delivering these improvements in infrastructure and service delivery in the run-up to the G20, but are not maybe being seen or heard. And part two to that is leadership has shared that they are able to engage with larger and national ANC structures, the provincial and national level, but are struggling to do so with the municipal level of the party. Would the party ever consider perhaps removing or recalling Mayor Marrero should there be an impasse, or should there be an escalation in these negotiations that are yet to be resolved? Thank you very much.
Thank you. One.
Thank you very much. My name is Mawan. I work for the Sino SG. Let's start with the issue of suspending or special leave Minister of Police Nonsense. By acceding to this SG, is the NWC alive to the protection of their own president that might be said in this regard? Because, I mean, you correctly, for instance, quote as
Thank you. Chantal?
Hello, my name is Yamtan Kampu from News 24. So, Madula, can I start with the issue of the Minister on Special Leave, Santo Tulu? Based on the statement that we got last week, it sounded like he asked and then the party declined. He also explained now, but could I just ask why now? What is the reasoning behind the party accepting his request now? And then with Western Cape, last week we saw your former provincial secretary Leonard Obot defect to the Democratic Alliance. He said he's in with about 300 members minimum. Are you worried about how you're going to perform in the local government elections there? And then I understand that there's an announcement coming tomorrow from the Minister of Finance about a lower inflation target. Do the ANC believe that there's been sufficient consultation around that? Thank you.
Thank you. Comrade Testi.
Thank you very much. Financial Mail. The Metro of Johannesburg must be able to settle the dispute with the union. And they must be able to find each other. Workers are bargaining very high using the G20 for whatever demands that they have. So the municipality must engage with the workers and find each other on these matters, because these matters will be with us beyond the G20. So the reason we've got unions and all of that is to ensure that they defend workers and their rights, and at the same time make it a point that within the parameters of bargaining, they are able to find each other. So as the ANC, we will expect that the leadership of the municipality will step up and engage and find a solution to the matters that are raised by the union. With regard to Comrade Senzo, are we envisaging a potential disaster? There can never be a disaster. I've explained in the statement that the act of self-conscience and voluntary stepping aside is an individual act. It's not in the guidelines that I've read. I've explained, not now, even earlier on, that Comrade Senzo presented himself to the Integrity Commission. And I said that we normally, in the past, as I explained, when somebody has presented himself or herself to the Integrity Commission, we wait for the conclusion of that process. And only when it is concluded, we get a report and table that report to the NEC and its recommendations for decision making. So I did report from the onset that Comrade Senzo did present himself to the Integrity, and we now get the report through his statement that he did appear, and they agreed they will meet again after the processes have been concluded. That's step one. And as the ANC, we did relate to that. With regard to step aside, we explained to him that he must work as a member of the NEC, and he had voluntarily taken a decision to step aside till the processes have concluded. We've got two processes in the country, ad hoc committee and Madlanga. And in the terms of reference, the name of Comrade Senzo arises there. And so there's a lot of things that are said about him that need his clarity and for him to engage with those issues without any due pressure and prejudice. Now, as an organization, when a member is faced with such, and that member have voluntarily taken a decision that many wouldn't take, like what Comrade Senzo have done, you grant that. And that's what we have done. So it's not a subject of the ANC policy. But if I'm a member of the organization and all of that, you are in that situation, you are on leave in government, literally, leave. You are not at work, and then you do work of the ANC every day. Wherever you go and appear, whatever you say is attributed to the ANC and yourself in relation to the proceedings of the ad hoc committee and the Madlanga Commission. So the best option for a party like ours is to allow that process to conclude and give the comrade an opportunity in terms of what they have asked to basically step aside and be on a special leave. And that's what we have done. And that's what we have granted to Comrade Senzo, so that he's able to attend to these particular matters. Suleiman stepping aside, I mean, his name has been mentioned, like many others whose names have been mentioned. He'll have to appear, but there is not the genesis of the commission as compared to Comrade Senzo. He'll have to appear if he's summoned to explain himself on those particular issues. And when judgment is passed, the commission conclude on its report, depending on what it says about such people in the commission. Like we said from the onset, the ANC will act informed by its own policies and prescripts in how you deal with matters of integrity. But such individuals too must ask to appear before the Integrity Commission and present themselves and explain themselves on these activities, because they are members of the ANC. A person who's not a member, who's mentioned by the commission, we've got nothing to do. Who's an associate member of members, like Brian Mukhodzi. He's an associate member of members. There's nothing we can answer there. He must answer for himself in the commission. And I don't think Integrity Commission has got anything to do with such characters. So they must answer for themselves in the commission and everywhere else. In our records, they are not members of the ANC. Suleiman is a member of the ANC. He's a treasurer of the ANC in Ngakamudiri Mulema. So he knows what he needs to do as a member of the ANC. The cop who's implicated, we have explained, there are many characters like this. And this is not a new revelation. People have abused the name of the ANC for the longest of time. You do have comtsotsis in our struggle and in our organization. And our organization is highly infiltrated by questionable individuals, self-serving, of no consequence, like this. Wearing ANC regalia, doing and implicated in wrongdoing. They must answer for themselves. So this cop is not a member of the ANC. Even if he can wear the regalia of the ANC, it would have been good if he wears the ANC regalia like many, for good reasons. That is the party I identify with in his private space. But for all the things that they are implicated in, our movement cannot be associated with that. So I want to explain to you that many characters like this, there are many, you'll find them. Because the ANC is a big political party. And others didn't come here to serve the people, they've come here for opportunities. That if you associate with this leader who is deployed in this position or this individual, it will get me the things that I want. Prestige, it will get me wealth, it will get me tenders, and that is it. Then they misuse the name of the organization. The organization have got nothing to do with criminals who are implicated in wrongdoing. And we draw the line with regard to that. We draw the line. There are people who are practicing corruption in the civil service. If you read the Babita report, you will see management of the hospital implicated in corruption. There's no ANC person there. It's people who are working in management of supply chain of the hospital, linking up with all the implicated individuals who have been mentioned, who are wealthy, have got the resources, have got money, and are associated with the African National Congress. And the ANC have got nothing to do with those people. You will see that in the civil service, even in government, where people in the supply chain are basically doing as they wish and doing corruption. They even, some of them call themselves bigger names, cartels and all of that. It's fun going around the country. And they associate their activities with the ANC. That has got nothing to do with the ANC. It's activities of individuals who are working in the civil service and at the same time doing corrupt activities, and now they get to be said to be associated with the African National Congress. The SACP decision to accept, to change its resolution will also, spill over to the ANC. The decision to contest elections on your own is bigger than just a mere decision of changing a resolution for one issue there and that matter there, and so on. This resolution has got an impact on the alliance. The Communist Party is aware of that. It has got an impact in the alliance in now making members of the Communist Party to choose between the ANC and the Communist Party in terms of membership. So we didn't have that. We didn't have to choose over the years between the ANC and the Communist Party. We are one thing. So the resolution that has been taken is got implications on the alliance as a whole. And that's why we need to understand the implication of that resolution. It's not just a resolution of if it was not us, it is others. We would have understood as the ANC, we are now taking a resolution that will have impact on the alliance, and how will that then be addressed? So that's why as the ANC we are very much clear on why the resolution of that nature does not augur well for our tripartite alliance. The NGC, there are many things that people want about the NGC. They want the NGC to elect leadership. They want NGC to do a whole lot of things. Members of the ANC, if they don't want the NEC, they can petition the organization and do that. The NGC we are going to, it's not the NGC where we are going to be entertaining matters of leadership. We are going to be entertaining, strengthening the African National Congress to come back and win the majority in the elections that we are approaching. People who are concerned about leadership issues do not really understand and appreciate the moment we are in. If they entertain such, I can report to you that majority of our structures are focused on the task of the General Council, not on who is going to be elected. The time for who needs to be elected will be in 2027. The General Council will consolidate unity of the ANC, get the midterm report, and then make proposals for the future in terms of what we need to strengthen as an organization going forward. Lastly, what is the party acceding to in terms of News 24, Senzo's request? And why now? I think I've explained that particular question thoroughly. There's nothing wrong about the decision that Comrade Senzo have actually taken. You have not retracted that decision. That decision stands. And every process is not in a state of, it's not static, it's in a state of motion. And the situation around us is fluid. It changes every day. It's what is called a dialectical process. So where we were last week, we are not there today. What could have obtained at that time will not happen now. We now know what the burden it carries for him to do ANC work whilst faced with these allegations. Because the allegations go to him that he deals with cartel, he's been absorbed by cartels, and he's working with tsotsis, he's surrounded by tsotsis, he's surrounded by questionable characters. Over and above, the state is corrupted. So he's corrupted from judiciary to prosecutors. Those are the allegations that we are probing as it stands now. And the Comrade Senzo have started at the ad hoc, and now he's going to go to Madlanga. And he has never run away from accounting. He's been there for a couple of days. He's going to be there to answer also to some of the accusations that have been made against him, further more down the line. So how you attend to those, given the material situation now, it means that request must be granted by the organization, not that it is policy. Otherwise, we will be sitting with somebody who doesn't see anything wrong around him and all of that and what is happening, and he doesn't feel any burden and still stick on and say, no, I'm still fine. I can go and address a rally. After you address, they say, last week, this is what they said about you at Madlanga. Whatever message, whatever you say, the issue is about you and how you respond, why you signed the letter, why you did this, and all of that. So those are the issues. Now, he is not, his membership of the NEC is not taken away. He's not stripped of his membership of the ANC. He, as a comrade and a leader, has taken a decision that given these circumstances, not even circumstances, this leave by the president, I equally believe that I must. And then the NEC and the NWC at that time said, no, you just stay on as a member. But you will understand that it's complicated going forward, more than what would have envisaged from a point of before things started. Practically now, we're no longer dealing with envisaging what's going to happen. We're dealing with the practical situation. Now, I did explain to you, if I have to remind you, when we were at the 9th floor, when I dealt with this matter, and the fact that Senzo had written this letter, when Mawande asked the question. And even before he asked the question, I explained that here is the policy, and this is what is actually happening. And now, at that time, when I was explaining this particular matter, which we reiterate again here today, we did explain that Integrity, Comrade Senzo, has asked to appear, and he had not appeared. So yeah, he did appear before the Integrity Commission, and that process on its own is taking its course, like all other members. And now, I did explain to you a week before, we did discuss the issues of integrity, and the NEC did reflect on the issue of people stepping aside just on implications. We don't have that rule. That if something is said about you and nobody can prove it anywhere, it's not tested anywhere, and then you can step aside. With Senzo, there is a process, which means I can stay in this process and clear my name. And that process is Justice Madlanga, first and foremost. But in this country, you can't just say anything to anyone and it stays. And then we must say, no, you are guilty as charged. That is kangaroo court. There's no such a thing. Allegations must be tested in a competent court of law. If not, the incumbent, the individual facing with such, must be able to deal with those in the position of leadership. So, yeah, these things are not small, they are big. And they are huge. And they've got huge implications for the country if they are found to be true. Now, we have said as the ANC, we can't give a running commentary. And the reason for that is that if something is said today about somebody, we'll have a comment about it, even before the commission concludes. It's fine for people on Twitter to conclude, to be judges and prosecutors and all of that, to conclude on things, and the media to write. Because you guys don't, make up issues now. You are writing what is reported about people. And then allow also those people to present themselves and their side of the story. On the balance of evidence, you will then make a determination that, and even the judge will make a final determination. But an argument that I will have with you now, and you say I'm this, and you say no, it's an argument. You are smearing me, you are doing everything. There's no way apiza uphelela khona. Uyaxoka, or you are telling the truth. In this instance, there is a court, not a court, there is a process of which this country is spending millions of rands to deal with. Mhlekaze bezele la nto nje qha ye-G20. So iphelile la mcimbi. So umvile ngendlela khomsha ngayo ukuthi uphume eAmerica. So akandibuzi ngesisigezo sika Donald Trump, undibuza ngento kamasipala sigezelwa nguDonald Trump apha. Financial Mail izondibuza ngomasipala. Xa gqibileyo uyapakisha uyahamba. Uyayeka lesi sigezo salo president wase-America usigezelayo. Uyasigezela ngecountry yethu. Uyayidyopa ufuna usifake engxakini. And then we are watching on uzosibuza ngomasipala. Xa gqibileyo akho problem uyapakisha uyahamba. Le ka Donald Trump yokuthi funeka sibe isolated. Akayihoyanga tu. Umtshana hayi ugqibile hayi gone, because the story must be G20 isengxakini. Thina sizicelile iprotest zomasipala sizicelile. Abantu bakuthi sine union apha, we are a constitutional state. Asothuswa ngabasebenzi xa bamatshela umasipala because kusiza i-G20. Zininzi izinto esijongane nazo, including ngoku abantu abahlukumezwayo bathi hey iyeza le G20 sifuna ni declare i-GBV disaster. Uyaqonda? Akulunganga. Naba bagezayo bafaka ipost apha estratweni bathi no i-transformation yethu bayayithuka. Transformation in this country, they say this is a regulated racial policy that has been passed by our government, when the reality of the matter is about addressing not even disparities. What happened in this country 300 years ago? That's what we are addressing here. They insult it. They say we are regulating racial policy in this country, when they know we are not equal. And we will never be equal. And we can't be equal only after 30 years. The struggle continues. Otherwise, if we were equal, the economy would have told us a different story altogether, and many other things. They would have told us a different story altogether. But ke mandimyeke umhlekazi angandikhuphi endweni. So what the minister will pass tomorrow in terms of the MT, medium-term budget statement, at least there is a consensus amongst all the parties in government, in the government of national unity, and the challenges that we are facing, and how to intervene with regard to that. So we don't envisage that they will have challenges that are of any nature by tomorrow when the statement is presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade SG. Colleagues, are there any hands? Follow up. Yeah, I think well, let's take the last round. After this, we'll start with you now, then one, then okay. It's a follow up. Let's start with yourself. Okay, no man can start. You can follow. Then Samtanda will close with you.
After listening, my name is Norman Mosungwe from City West. Mine is regarding the NGC. My memory serves me when the last NGC was in 2015, and you had over 4,000 delegates from around 2,500, if I'm not mistaken, branches. Now, there's a problem with regards to disputed branches and stuff like that. And you indicated that the cutoff for delegates was the September 30. Is there a hope for those that will be resolved by the National Dispute Resolution Committee and appeal? Those branches and regions that will be resolved between 30th September and December before NGC to be part of that, of the NGC. And are you worried, are you not worried that the number seems to have declined sharply from the last one, and how do you hope to bring back those numbers back to have many delegates participating and then unity of the ANC going forward? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. One.
Thanks, it's Mawan again. Probably just to finish off where Norman left. Actually, Norman is right, SG, because in fact, maybe to take his point further, there is then the point that Norman raises. It has raised a question of credibility of some of these ANC leaders. I mean, you can't have the numbers that Norman was reciting and then the ones that were, there's just no correlation between the two. The ANC remains more or less the same size, if not even bigger in terms of membership now. sure you should be concerned, like I am concerned as a South African citizen, that some of our own are stuck in a war zone like that one. And then finally, the COSATU bilateral that we had with them, say you agreed on having and continuing to have poor economic policy, but one would say how in this neoliberal economic framework of the ANC that is centered around austerity. I mean, for the first time, we see magistrates marching about their working conditions, lack of things like bonuses and stuff like that, because of the economic framework that the current administration has taken, which is centered around austerity. Austerity that has been proven time and again that it kills public service, and you have such organizations. In fact, did you discuss austerity with COSATU, SG, at all in that bilateral thing that you had? Last, SG, you mentioned in passing issue of when you respond to something that you are not revoking the membership of Umatungwa. And it triggers a thinking of me that you actually do have the power, by the way, to revoke a membership of wayward members. Where is the ANC, given the amount of problems that is the ANC are in, credibility and integrity issues, at what point do you get to that to trigger that provision of revoking membership of people who are putting the name of the ANC in extreme disrepute, like this corporation I've been mentioned at Malanga and the ENO committee, which is things that involve criminal cartels, drug cartels, serious transgression. Of course, natural justice, they're not guilty, but we've always insisted that the ANC rises above society. So we can't say because we are not charged, therefore we can't take extreme measures, which is why Stand Aside was introduced precisely because the ANC rises above the rest of society. When are you revoking membership of certain comrades like the ones implicated in Malanga and the ENO committee? Thank you.
Thanks. Samson?
Mr. Malala, with regard to the SACP and their decision to go alone in the next elections, have you actually had a frank conversation with the alliance partner? Exactly what is their contribution towards the ANC's electoral outcomes? I know that the last elections you performed the way you did, but what was their contribution to that? And so why are you holding on to that? And then could you please indulge me on a hyper-local issue in the Peter Mokaba region? I know that there are people there who have sent a lawyer's letter to you and they are requesting for the outcome of the dispute lodged against ANC, the regional conference in Peter Mokaba. Can you get an update on that? Have you responded to their letter? I know the deadline was yesterday. They essentially want the report from the chairperson of the meeting. So can you please give a response? Thank you.
Okay, let's just give just one. Let's take just one. Sorry.
Thank you. Veronica Mahoney from Newsroom Africa. Just SG, for me, it's just really one question. We know, in fact, two, ahead of the G20. One being the women's shutdown that's anticipated ahead on that day. Many women saying that there will be a shutdown. Just your response as the ANC, given some of the issues that people will likely try to put forward ahead, of course, of this global engagement. But then again, going back to what Trump has said, are you worried at all about what influence this could have on the other G20 leaders, that perhaps maybe we could see others boycotting, but even just the perception that this has essentially created with the US president not taking part? That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I address you?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the questions. Masangani, City Press. No, they have not declined the numbers. It depends on the formula you actually use. And I know you are going to propagate this thing. I've heard you with Mawande saying that this is a big decline. No, there's no decline. You'll see in our report in terms of membership, it is the model and the formula you actually follow. So we followed more or less the formula of the General Council of 1996. Not a rally, a mass, 5,000 people. We're going to get everyone from every province and any branch participating. Not all branches anyway, even if the numbers were 4,000, will come to the General Council. So, General Council, it is well constituted within the constitution of the ANC. 1,600 is within the constitution. The constitution mandates the NEC to formulate the delegation for the General Council. And the constitution does not talk about elections. The desire to elect and to disband, if it is there and people want to pursue it, they can try. It's a democratic platform, but I'm telling you right now, that General Council is not for disbandment or anything of sort. The ANC constitution does allow members, if they want the NEC to be disbanded, they can gather 2/3 of ANC branches and call for a special Congress for the disbandment of the National Executive Committee. So it's not something that is just done by people who are sleeping on WhatsApp groups and then think that is a branch. No, that's not a branch. WhatsApp group person who propagate the fall of the NEC or who wishes the following. It doesn't happen like that. We are a democratic organization. It is expressed fully in the Constitution in terms of the rights of members and at the same time the powers of the General Council of the African National Congress. So, Maswangai, there is no decline of numbers. It's the formula that we have followed, and the NEC agreed that we must be 1,600, and then we must become a political school, and that's what we have been. We have taken the discussions to our structures, and this discussion in the base document have been debated, and they are intensifying towards the General Council. We are going to have a General Council like we have never seen, where members are going to come there with proposals of shaping the ANC's hegemony in society as a party that is facing existential crisis, and how we mop up going forward. Also faced with an election, and how do we mop up going forward. We are a year away from the national conference, and before that we'll go through the hurdle of an election. We will have enough time for the conference, including leadership. So the General Council is not a platform of leadership change. It's about policy, continuity, and change. Policy, continuity, and change. That's what this General Council is about. Can I tell you that there are no such intentions? They are there. They speak to you. I see them through your media. They say that Ramaphosa is going to leave, and I saw Pejani for the first time wrote a long article. I was laughing at it. Chief is going where? He will finish his term as the president of the ANC. And as members of the ANC, from where I'm sitting as Secretary General of the ANC, as a leader of our party, we are okay with Ramza, Pula Aine, Ya Ramaphosa, and it will, with our support as a collective. He's not leading alone, he's leading with us. And members now are invited to even make an input in that leadership in the General Council. And there are no holy cows. If there are criticisms members are going to make and they want to pass resolutions, they will do so. We are going to give a midterm report, including how we got 40%. So there's going to be a robust discussion at the level of the General Council, because the National Executive Committee of the ANC will account, which is required by the Constitution. So the idea that we are going there to elect and to call for disbandment and all of that does not arise. Should it arise, it will come from the structures of the organization. But there are people who are spending sleepless nights, even others formed political parties to undermine this leadership and to erode the power of the ANC among the masses of our people, and because they are not in leadership. They formed parties, and they are proud of those parties. They've relinquished their membership, and then thereafter they are fighting for it. They are there. Others have been RT forces. I don't know now, probably they are blue forces in the organization, because they've disintegrated. Others have gone to opposition parties and all of that. Others have formed political parties, but coming from us at the ANC. So there is no decline. We have given you 2 annual reports, and you wrote, you must read all of them. Annual reports. We gave you 2 annual reports about the state of affairs of the ANC. We are now going to produce the midterm report. The midterm report is going to be big because it also accounts for the elections. It also going to speak to the GNU, how we arrived at that particular decision. So it's a huge platform, but it is shaped also into the perspective of the base document we have circulated for discussion. I've seen Tamin Tenteni have produced a document called about the counter-revolution. It's a discussion that members must have. Those who disagree with him are free to engage. That's the nature of the ANC. Not to go around saying things and all of that. Here is the platform. It's now open. We went to the structures presented. They must pronounce politically their understanding of what is it that is better that the organization, in their view, could have done than this. The ANC have been here before. In 1990s, in our first Congress, when our unbanning conference, we went to Nazareth. From Nazareth, we went to Natal. The biggest discussion there was about decisions the National Executive Committee had taken under Mandela's leadership, and Oliver Tambo and Sisulu and all of them, in the process of re-establishing the ANC inside the country, in that conference. The process of negotiations, how it started, was a huge debate in the ANC. The process of the arms struggle suspension was a huge debate in the ANC. The process of suspending sanctions. Thabo Mbeki gave us a lecture in that conference. We came there militant that sanctions must be intensified. And he gave us a dialectical lecture for 2 hours in a plenary in Durban, Westville. I was part of that conference. I was there representing the Youth League. By the time he finished speaking, we had changed our mind. That the sanctions, we must call for the suspension of the sanctions. If we don't do it, they will be suspended without us, and we'll lose what we call strategic initiative. So it is the ANC that took a decision that sanctions must. And that is in that conference where we said that mass mobilization is not the replacement of the armed struggle, but must be intensified. as we now open up a path of a possibility of a negotiated settlement. For the first time, we talked about negotiations from armed seizure of power. All the years, we're singing Songene Pitoli ngeBazooka. Yeah, we land in Durban. Amaxhego athi, there's no bazooka here. Negotiations. Strategy and tactics of the ANC changes. Now we talk GNU. We are going to be talking strategy and tactics of the ANC. That talks about sustaining the ANC into power, now in the possibility of a GNU and a setback. How do we come back from that? That is the strategic debate before the National General Council of the ANC, not who gets elected. If people want their own leadership and they want to go to General Council and talk about election, then they don't understand where we are. And there are those who are busy plotting that. And they talk to you, we see them every Sunday. When you write the headlines, Masanga, in City Press, they are very nice. Ramaphosa is facing an uproar, hey, this and that. We see them. They come and talk to you. They are faceless. But I can tell you right now, they are going to fail. Because the determination of our movement to succeed under our leadership is untenable. We understand perfectly where we are and what needs to be done for us to not only survive, but to come back. And that's what this General Council is going to answer. It can't be answered by 10,000 people who are going to be singing from in the morning till in the afternoon. It's going to be answered by 1,600 delegates, with others participating in the lead up to that General Council. Banikeza abanye umphako. So this General Council is representative of all our structures across the length and breadth of the country. Mawande, I've answered the question of the numbers. And I'm not going to repeat it. The question of Rasool, I did have a discussion with Comrade Rasool before announcement in Cape Town. He was going to Turkey, and then he said to me two things. He's got these new assignments that he's got. And Rasool is an activist of the movement. He's a cadre of the ANC. And he was ready to take up the task. And he also had some challenges at the time when we took the decision that he accepted other responsibilities, which it was going to be very difficult for him to match that with this part in terms of the organization. Of course, he had to talk to his family and prioritize that, because it would have meant that, do I leave this offer that I've taken up and then now go and focus on the ANC? But he have said, SG, I will die black, green, and gold. Assign me other tasks, I will always be there. But the task you want to give me, especially in the Western Cape and the government we are dealing with in the Western Cape, will need me 24/7. And I can't give you half. So I announced him. And then I came back to the officials and the NWC with a name to replace him. And that name is Jeremiah. And he has who pick good Bible, Old Testament, with Jeremiah. Jeremiah Teisma, our comrade, seasoned comrade, all-rounder, Communist Party, background, COSATU, youth movement, upbringing. He's a pastor, by the way, from Mitchell's Plain at the present moment. So I spoke to him. He have accepted the role to become our convener in the Western Cape. So we will go and inaugurate him, probably, if time permitting, because before end of the week, so that you see him, Comrade Teisma. You might have known him, but you don't know. He has got very important accolades like Alderman. Do you know Alderman? In the council in the Western Cape, that he had that prestigious award that he got. So we believe that he's an activist, he's got energy, he will do the work. So we are happy with him. There are South Africans trapped there. We have issued a statement, and we want to reiterate that we want to know who sent them there. What were they doing there? Were they mercenaries and all of that? President and government, we have said as the ANC, they must leave no stone unturned to get to the bottom of these 17 people whom it is rumored that they were 20. It means about 3 people have died there. Children, fathers of children have been dispatched to a war zone by somebody. I hear now another rumor that it is MK Party. So I don't want to be sued. I hear from you, the media, today, News 24, that it is rumored that these people were sent there by Zuma. So I don't know. But Zuma disappeared in the country. I don't know whether he was in the war zone and then he came back singing and very energetic when he came back. So, and somebody was saying on Twitter, Umbalula can't match Zuma. I can't match him. He's very fit from wherever he comes from. Ay. Umdomdala ayu fit kakhulu. Ungamalala nam ungithusile. At this age, ay. So we don't want to entertain rumors, but we want to know, is this, South Africa cannot afford to have sponsorship of mercenary work. This thing has been happening. Americans come here, poach people, and then give them lots of money, and they go and fight in the war zone in the Middle East and everywhere else. That's what they do. And everyone else, they poach these people, they give them a lot of money. Some who are operatives of the old order. Some of them, we caught them wanting to, going via Zimbabwe, to go and conduct a coup d'etat in Equatorial Guinea. Under President Zuma's government, we found them. And they were arrested in Zimbabwe, if you remember, and all of that. These mercenaries who are here in our country, so we need to know who is sponsoring this work, unless our state agencies are not doing the correct work. Everything else is a rumor that we have learned about in the media. We don't know how far it goes, but government must do its job. Look, the economy is faced with a number of challenges, and the options that have been taken of austerity and all of that sometimes were meant to cushion us in order to advance. So the extent to which we'll be able to get out of this is something that will tell us in the next coming months and years as to we are turning the corner. I don't want to talk about the 1.3 quarter results in terms of increase, in terms of employment, because we want to see from our side, when you talk about the 2 biggest issues in the country at the present moment, according to Ipsos, is unemployment, number 1, and number 2 is crime. Those are 2 biggest issues among South Africans at the present moment. And if the economy is turning and all of that, and we will feel it in your pocket. I know for a fact that to fill up your car now with petrol, it costs not less than 1,000. I know probably you guys are moving on reserve, 20 rand, and all of that and so on. It's called cost of living. Now, what Madiba is coming up with in terms of the medium-term budget is going to make a major intervention in terms of cost of living. Things are not good for ordinary folks in the country. And that is the truth. As much as you see many cars, but petrol, diesel is expensive. You know, and the main essentials are very expensive. So the performance of the economy must be felt by an ordinary man in the street. And that is it. So the attitude of people, in particular the black middle strata today, towards our government and the thorny issue is around this question of the cost of living. And that is why our people, when they see you having a nice time, a big party there, when they are struggling, and you happen to be a politician, they frown upon that. But if everybody was okay, they don't even care about your party. They just pass. But now if you can organize a party and then you are an ANC person or a politician and all of that, people ask themselves, "Upila pitina sisokola kanje lo muntu?" Those questions are not just genuine, they are legit. Because government must tighten the belt in the times of this, where people are living, with a shoestring budget in the period of the cost of living. You can't see government and its leadership living large when all of us, we've got difficulties in terms of the cost of living. And these are some of the things that get to be questioned. Revoking of member, you are correct. It has never happened, but we are going to do it now. You are Mbalula somewhere, you are giving us a bad name. The ANC Constitution says the Secretary General, that's what I explained to that chap. I did not even apply the requirement in terms of the Secretary General's role and powers. We just applied what is required in terms of the ANC Constitution. So, revoking membership, that gets to be done anytime in the organization. News 24, we will not have the ANC winning and calling itself a movement, if ever. There was no value in the Communist Party and COSATU, in the ANC. There was value, and there's still value. And that's why we will maintain that alliance, Siyamthanda, with the Communist Party and the ANC. Peter Mokaba, lawyers, we answer them here. We have answered those lawyers of Peter Mokaba. We have answered others, but we have briefed the structures in Limpopo about the task team that was established and the outcome. And we have followed up on the recommendations of the outcome of the conferences. That we have done, is done. So there are people who are looking for the report. But the report won't help anyone because at the end of the day, the local standing in terms of the organization is not the report. It's about how we have dealt with the matters before the organization in relation to this structure. So we have responded to the letter of the letters of the lawyers. These lawyers who write to us here at Luthuli House, they write and leak to you. So before we even respond to them, we must respond to them and we must respond to the media. So there is no integrity there. So nonetheless, we have responded to them. Newsroom, if you go to the UN, there are protests there every day on different issues, especially during UNGA, United Nations General Assembly. There are protests there. If you go to COP17, you will find that. If COP30, if you come here, there's COP30, you will get protests. So if people protest with the G20 coming to South Africa for different reasons, there is nothing wrong about that. There is nothing wrong because the world we live in is not equal. And there will be all sorts of protests that take place all the time. So we must understand that South Africa is a country in which even those who protest for whatever that they protest about, they are allowed to participate because we are a vibrant constitutional democracy. So here in South Africa, nobody will be killed for protesting during a G20. We've got enough police force and government not to kill people, but to ensure that people, if they want to protest, they are free to do so. But there are things that we will not allow, and the state must not allow, is those who protest with the intention of collapsing things. The democratic state can't allow that, to collapsing government during G20. That G20 is going to make an indelible mark for this country and for changing matters for our economy. And the fact that there will be protests, they should not be muzzled. And the protests I've read about now are those that are inward looking. Inward looking in terms of South Africa. One, GBV is the biggest thing in our country. It needs us. Those people who are coming here, they are coming for the G20 and they are going to depart. GBV is with us. It's our problem as a country, which we must attend to. But there will be others who want to protest for these nations, and leaders will be coming here to highlight the questions of international importance within the global framework of economic setup. And they will come from different backgrounds. Trade unions and everywhere else will be protesting. But South Africans must understand that issues that we are faced with will be resolved by us. So if you protest because you want the world to see that we have a challenge called GBV, at the end of the day, fine and good, but that must be resolved by us. Long after those leaders who are coming here will have left. And we must join the movement of GBV. Women for Change are calling for an intervention of a state of emergency, if I'm not mistaken, or the GBV to be declared a disaster, a national disaster. Those are issues that we need to join because GBV affects us, our families, and everyone else. And there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing that we should be in conflict about. And it's important that we as the ANC will feel free to join that particular movement. The United States not taking part in the G20. That's the question you ask, Newsroom.
Just to speak about, just the repercussions of that, and the precedent that is setting ahead of this gathering.
The American administration of Donald Trump not taking part in the G20 is to communicate a message of seeking to punish our country. But unfortunately, the reasons they have chosen to punish us economically are incorrect, and they are lies and fabricated. If they use the question of the genocide, the president of America goes to Miami and says, things are horrible there, and things are bad there, and say that we are a communist country. We are not a communist country. Donald Trump administration has not been straight with us. When President Ramaphosa went there, they raised the issue about the killings in the farms, and then they played a video of Julius Malema. That's where it ended. He never said anything about ICJ, about us taking Israel to international court. He never said there where we saw him there that he's got a problem with our policies. expropriation of land, and all of that. But every time he's got an opportunity, take a swipe at us, like that. There is a genocide, there are people, horrible things are happening there, and that is it. So there's not been clarity about this question, about why are we punished so that we are able to respond and our government is able to respond appropriately. Now, we have explained to them that issues of BBBE and all of that are matters of redress in our country. They can't go around it. They can't go around it. They should know that there was apartheid in this country. As much as America, half of the time, supported the regime in our country for many years, many, many years. Fact of the matter is that Americans in America were with us in the anti-apartheid movement. Now that we have defeated apartheid and we are on the path of redress, they are now asking us that we must ignore that. That's not only incorrect, that's lazy thinking and scapegoatism and all of that they want to use. You know, they want to grab at anything. You know, a political party that does not have an ideology and a program of action, it grabs on everything. Death penalty, yes, I go with it. This and that, I go with it, and so on. As long as you'll get votes. America is treating us like that. It is not coming to us with clarity. Genocide, all South Africans, black and white in our country, are rejecting that thing of Donald Trump, including the vaccination now of AfriForum. That no, they didn't say there is genocide in South Africa. That's what I heard Kali Kriel say on interview, that they didn't say there is genocide. So what is this thing that we are being punished about? Even the president of America taking a stance that I'm not coming there. Vance was coming till a week ago. And some white people had organized at Voortrekker, a rally for him there to go and address. So I think they are going to cancel it fast and furious, that particular rally, because Trump has canceled everybody. And then you want to give us that ambassador who's coming, Bozeli, that old man, very reactionary and conservative. But nonetheless, that is the matter that our government is capable of dealing with. Whether they will take such a person to become an ambassador in South Africa, we have declared that he's coming to tell us what to do. That's what he says. Rasul was dismissed in America and declared persona non grata for saying things there. And Americans did not agree with him. And Rubio, the Secretary of State, did not even call him to office. Rasul Watiban a letter. What about America? Here is a man there coming our direction. He's telling us what we must do. We are a sovereign state. We are a sovereign state. We are a democracy. We are not a dictatorship. We are not a country where an election, we've got many political parties. We are running a country with what is called GNU, not influenced by Americans. It's our decision as South Africans. What is it that Donald Trump wants to lecture us about? Democracy. We are not a dictatorship. South Africans must stand up against madness, against their own country. Yes, we are a country in diversity. We don't agree like in a democracy. We don't agree on many other things. We resolved when the biggest party with the biggest majority got 40%, we resolved our issues without external influence within 14 days. And we formed government without mediation. of violence. What is it that Donald Trump wants to give us and tell us? That we are a genocide. We're killing black, white people in our country, farmers and all of that. We are not any of the things that they say we are. So we are being subjected in political terms to what is called imperialist aggression. That people want to run our country now, like what they do in Cuba. When Fidel Castro decided in Cuba that everyone who wants to be Americanized, want to go to America, is not in favor of the political, economic, socio-economic system we are about to practice, you are free to go. They all left, they went to settle in Miami, but they still punished Cuba till today. For a people who have decided what they want to be, they punished them. And today, we are a democracy. We are not a dictatorship. We are a flourishing democracy, by the way, in 30 years. And we are now told that we are killing whites, and therefore they are not coming. They know we've got strong trade relations with America. Yes, it will affect our economy. If overnight the trade relations, the companies that have invested in this country, for the madness that we are being told we are subjected to, were to withdraw from our country. As the ANC, we will not be threatened about sanctions. We are the movement. We are the leadership here in this country. We live in a democracy. To be punished and singled out for economic sanctions by Donald Trump and thinking that we will abandon our ideas because of that, we've been there before. We are ready for that. Because that's why we were formed. If we are to be punished for fighting for redress and social transformation in our country and advancing for equity in our country as the African National Congress, for the reason why we were formed as an organization, let it be in a democracy. And for all those who love our country and our nation, they will never support that because they know that the ANC, for 30 years, have led a successful story of a democratic order in this country. It is not perfect. It is not favored by everybody. Even those who went to Australia and New Zealand are regretting why they left on lies. Because the reason why they left, they said, here come the communist Khafar. I met them when I went with the Springboks. They came there in their numbers, in the stadium, in New Zealand, in Australia. I asked them. They said, life is difficult here. I said, why did you leave? They said, we were fed lies. That here come the communists with long tails. And all of that. Nangu Satan is here come the Roy Khafar. They were sold that story. Others were buying groceries and digging them deep 6 feet. Tin stuff that starvation and civil war is coming to this country. Mandela and the ANC led us to a peaceful transition, which they went to call it a miracle. So what is Donald Trump about to tell us about our country? We can't, you know what? We are South Africa, and that's what we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade SG, for making time and for this press briefing. Colleagues, let me take this opportunity to thank you for always supporting us and being a critical stakeholder. Siyabong, siyabulela. This briefing is adjourned. Thank you.